Welcome to yet another episode of Masterclass. And today we are picking up with Tina, whom you met before. Tina is the CEO of Unthink AI and been for more than a decade in the world of customer experience. I urge you to listen to our first episode. Tina spoke to us about content versus intent, how one should think product discovery today, how we are moving beyond the world of SEO. How does brand promotion even happen? Where does product conversion happen? And I don't want to repeat most of that today because you have to listen to how Tina thinks about this. We've got almost half an hour of content on our previous episode. I want to set the stage for something else. I want to put myself in the chair of um, a large enterprise. We're getting a lot of these questions as ISG on how does one even implement like this? How does one even start thinking about including a firm like Unthink, etc. And these are the things I'd love to unpack with you, Tina. Glad to have you back. Tina, maybe just for everybody who's not met you so far, could you just introduce yourself and what Unthink does?
Yes, thank you very much, Prashant. So I'm Tina Mane. I'm the founder of Unthink AI. It's basically a product discovery platform powered by AI, and yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Great to have you back, Tina. And listeners, please listen to the previous episode. I learned so much from on how the world of product discovery is changing that forms actually the basis for today's discussion. So today I'd like to talk about a few more things. This is what we are hearing from our clients. They're worried about uh, AI not because of its possibilities. They're worried about AI because of the traps that it could bring. One of them was talking to us about transfer learning. I'm sure for those who don't know transfer learning means you're buying a foundation model from someone else. You're training that model with your own proprietary data. Some call it RAG, and you end up using that model for yourself, but now the algorithm is trained on your own proprietary data, and that's called transfer learning. But the fears I'm hearing are, what was the original foundational model trained on? Was it trained on either someone else's proprietary data or someone else's copyrighted data? Uh, those are the kind of sticky situations we are solving for. Are you hearing some of that? How should one even think of that, Tina?
Yes, I'm not hearing as much of it as you are as ISG, but I definitely get the question about each company feeling that one is the risk of um because whenever the regulations are not clear or whenever someone else gets into trouble, the corporations get scared, right? For example, even OpenAI was in the news last like 6 months back, less than 6 months back, about who owns the data and all that stuff. And we found Aditya, my team member, just sent me something, a note saying that OpenAI now says that if you retrain, if you do fine tuning on my model, I won't take your data that's it's trained on, right? So the data that's the brands or the retailers will not be used by OpenAI to train its other algorithms. That's what they say. On the other hand, AI has been around forever, right?
Right.
And Google and Microsoft and Facebook, they've all been using, not only using data, not only using other people's data, generate data that's generated by others, but they have also been using personal information, right? Like Facebook has been in trouble for many, many times for using personal information. The brands have been in the back, right? They've not been benefiting from any of the data that they have generated. The social media influencers have not
Mm,
benefited from the data that they have generated. So why should only like some of the world benefit from data when the data itself has been generated by everybody? So I believe that the data is democratic as long as you don't misuse it, as long as you don't, uh, you know, as long as it's not personally identifiable information and that's being sold. I think it's perfectly fine in my view.
And I completely agree with you, Tina. I guess the companies are more scared about the liability of being caught. Just like OpenAI got caught,
Yes.
um, they're wondering would they get be caught. Any advice for them on how what they should watch out for as
Yeah.
they come into this space?
Yeah, I think I see. So it's no more the case where you develop everything in house and proprietary, right? The whole world of open source, leveraging algorithms that are already built, the world has opened up, right? So when a retailer or a brand or an enterprise uses a model that is fine tuning OpenAI, OpenAI already has its set of liabilities and responsibilities, right?
Mhm.
So I would say you're actually guarded because OpenAI is liable for something that they have, and
Right.
then a brand is only leveraging what OpenAI has offered, right? So then there is some protection there. On
Mm,
top of that, the brand is adding some value with its own data, and it's
mm,
retraining it and using it for its own niche audience. So I
mm,
don't see there are multiple layers of protection that are already there because OpenAI has been brave enough to go and get all that data and make it useful for others. So they're in the line of fire, and they've also got the big dollars to protect themselves.
mm.
So I personally think that there really isn't any room for concern in this aspect.
Got you. So and as we come into this and you're getting these foundational models and mine in your last description, my mind was going to, okay, if I pick up a model from someone and I train it with my proprietary data, do I own the algorithm now or do you own the algorithm? Is Are things getting sticky there?
Yeah, I was pretty sure you were going to come to this question. Yeah, that's going to I think that's going to be it will take some time for real clarity to emerge in my view,
Mm,
because the data is not just one source, right? I mean, there's multiple sources of data. So you have the data from that OpenAI has
yeah,
collected over years, right? And they have mined it and made it available. Then there is the retailers brands data, and then
right,
there are providers like us who help bring them together and create
right.
models and make them applications. So actually, the data sits sort of in between all the three parties.
Mm,
Now, there could I think it'll this is going to lead to interesting commercial arrangements where, depending on how much the brand is willing to pay, they
mm,
could say that you share this data or not,
mm,
right? But the whole point is that it's a federation of data, right? Like if you look at it, it's give and take, right?
mm,
Like Prashant, if you and I have to have a conversation, I have to tell you something and you have to tell me something, and then both of us benefit, right? So I
right.
think there is a lot of value in collaboration and in exchanging data for the benefit of the end consumer and for the and which again benefits you back as a brand. So I believe that OpenAI is doing its role of generating data and giving APIs. The retailer has its own data, its own user information, behavioral data that it's creating, and then there are platforms like us that can bring in potentially like influencers, creators, other layers, and our own analytics that can create layers on top of that. So I believe that it's all about exchange of value, and as long as the value exchange is fair, everybody benefits. It's just going to be like who is offering more value to whom
Right.
and who's paying for what.
Right. And I think let me take a parallel
Yeah.
and using that parallel, let me develop a hypothesis right now.
Yes.
And then I'd love your reaction on what I'm going to say.
Okay.
So let's take a hypothesis, and it's not a parallel, and it's not about data, it's about software. Okay. And the world is used to buying software now. You can buy software like SAP, Oracle, etc., Workday, Salesforce. You can buy all of this. And all of that comes with coded logic, coded business logic. And coded business logic is actually business algorithms. So that's where my mind's going with the entire with the entire thought experiment. So now if I'm ready to buy software and I use that software and I customize that software for my own needs, I can build my custom build code on something like SAP or Oracle, but then I own the code. So I own the Java code, the ABAP code, which is sitting on top of the software I bought.
Yes.
So At least in software, there's a clear distinction between the software that I bought and the software that I created. And the software that I created is mine, it's my intellectual property. The software that I bought as a license. So, the entire business logic is not mine. It is something I bought for. It belongs to the firm, in this case, SAP or Oracle.
Yes.
And it does not matter that my data is sitting in the system. What's more precious for me is not just my data, but also the business logic that I coded, because that's where the real intellectual property comes in.
Hmm.
Now, if I take that parallel, if I take that example and say, well, this is how I should probably also treat foundational models. Foundational model, an algorithm trained by someone else by using their data, just like SAB created their business logic. This foundation model is my initial algorithm. I put my data in it, and now it's a new algorithm. Part of me says, I should be able to think what was mine and what did I buy. Part of me wants to think that. The other part of me thinks, I don't know whether I can differentiate any longer because this is AI ML, which means the algorithm is changing by the minute. I don't know what's mine and what I bought. Part of me thinks there is an answer there for this commercial agreement. The other part thinks I don't know where to draw the line. Help
Yes.
me, Christine. What do you think?
Yes, I think it's going to be really hard to draw the line. Like, for example, let's say that you're using cloud software, right? Like when I use Google, they'll say, we are collecting your data so that we improve your experience. Is that okay or not, right? And when you say okay, then obviously they're tracking all that you do and they're using that as feedback to improve their algorithms, right?
Right.
So, and people are used to that, right? Like you're not going to say no because you want a better experience. So I believe that in this whole AI ML world now, there is a lot of open source stuff. There is a lot of data that is across places that you need. And then when you leverage that data and you improve it, like you said, you take an SAP layer and then you improve it. Your SAP layer is still owned by SAP, right? And definitely SAP is leveraging some of the usage that you're doing because it's again going to their central servers, their cloud, and they're leveraging that to improve their algorithms, and you can't stop it and you probably don't need to stop it because let SAP get better and you also get better. So what's the harm if both the organizations are benefiting in parallel? And second thing is that you might have data that will improve the algorithms and the algorithms will get better, and then that in turn feeds back to you so that
Mm-hmm.
you can use your data better, right? So the customer, like the enterprise, for example, is a generate data generator,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the layer, the model, is a user of that data, but
Mm-hmm.
then it also creates data that can be given back to you because that extracted data might be more valuable to you than raw data, right? Like if you think about a customer, a retailer or a brand, they have customer feedback data, mine like troves of data, right? Like all the customer feedback that came to them, all the user behavioral data. But then what's the point of sitting on a whole pile if that data is not giving you meaning?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now you're feeding this data into a model, and then the model is giving some value, and then that model is extracting some insights. So maybe what a brand or retailer should, or any enterprise should request is just to get back those insights. So
Mm.
it's a data exchange, right? I give you raw data, you give me insights, and we are both benefiting.
Got you. And that way, through the insights, I feel at least I've monetized my data and not just use your algorithm.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the two-way street you were talking about, where there should be collaboration and exchange of insights. We've seen with our clients, Tina, that they are getting slowly ready for multiple models coming in,
Yes.
to the point that they're talking about model gardens. Um, they're ready for their own models. They're talking about not just LLMs, they're talking about MLMs and SLMs. And you've been doing the same thing with Unthink AI. And one of the questions they were asking us is, how prohibitive is this to do financially? Should they even attempt doing this on their own? Um, is there a buy versus build? Everybody's seen how expensive chips are nowadays, and GPUs are nowadays, and GPU time. What do you feel, Tina?
Yeah. So I believe that OpenAI is and these very large LLMs are already heavily funded, right? So they
Mm,
have taken up the burden of creating gold out of this large troves of data. So I don't think anybody should right now try to reinvent what's already done and what's already funded, right, for OpenAI or
yeah.
for a Google model or Facebook's Llama, right? So they're already taking up the burden of the expense. So
Mm,
what I believe is that the practical thing to do would be leverage what's out there, add your fine tuning, your expertise or your gold is your customers, your data. Use that and then just focus on building up and enhancing the amount of data that is there, as well as enhancing using that data to first of all grow your revenue
mm,
and applying and making the right use cases. Right. So I think gone are the days, even when I look at the investor landscape, right? It's like maybe at some point of time, maybe 6 months to 12 months back, a lot of investors were looking at people who create all these models from scratch. But I don't think there is a need to go head to head with all these large giants. Like
mm,
even Llama is not as good as Llama is Facebook, right? And they're not as good as OpenAI. So
mm,
who's going to win that war? Let them wage the war, right? I think we should be best consumers of the best models and just know how to have a framework that is flexible enough that you can switch models as you need,
mm.
but not actually try to build from scratch, because the moment you start building from scratch you have to worry about your GPU cost and all that stuff, and you're going to become like get into the wrong, like you're getting trying to solve the wrong problem, I think.
And because of what you just said, do you think the future of hosting all these models, even Unthink example, uh, do you think that's going to be still public cloud, or do you see maybe small data centers come back just because it is prohibitive to do this in public cloud? Help us think through what do you think is going to be the infrastructure needed for this?
um, So I don't think we are ever going to go away from public cloud,
Mm,
because I think you will need more and more and more APIs that are available and tried and tested. But of course, there will be some proprietary data that will be held by organizations, each organization having their own set of data. And then there'll be, of course, the value exchange discussion about who's paying for what kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But I don't think the public cloud is ever going to go away. I think it's going to be getting more and more important to be to basically leverage what's out there, right?
Mm.
So that's what I believe, and that's the only way that everybody can win together, if you leverage the best of what's out there.
One of our clients was talking about creating. I heard this for the first time a few weeks ago. A nano data center, a small purpose-built data center, just because they, for this particular use case, and they are into autonomous driving. Um, so I think I've given away who probably the client is. Hmm. At least you know who what the industry is. That they were looking for a purpose-built data center footprint, and they called it a purpose-built estate for cognitive infrastructure. They were using public versus private, so but they were using this center mostly because they wanted to avoid the ingress egress costs, because they were looking at petabytes of information to train these models. Something tells me that we are probably entering a world of hybrid, where you'll see a lot more of these coming up, especially where there is edge. And of course, to your point, all the well trained models might be available as APIs, so we should have access to public. Is this where the enterprise architecture for cognitive infrastructure is going?
Yeah, so I definitely think that the niche players, like you said, right, in
Mm,
autonomous driving and stuff, right, there might be new data sets that get new meaning because of the context that's there, right? So for the industry specific context or the use cases that have to be served, so there's
yeah,
always going to be very new innovative layers that come on top of what's already there, and
yeah.
then those guys who have the budget, who have the might, could become industry leaders who can then take a generic model, add their layer, and then they package it and sell it, right? So
Mm,
that's definitely going to be there, and these guys are going to be making money out of APIs per API money, right, that they can offer to others. I think that the whole concept of creating value that can be offered as an API to others will continue for sure. Like you said, the hybrid model. On the other side, there will also be consumers of the model where they don't want to innovate at all because they don't have the budget and they don't have the time. They want to only focus on value creation. So they could use. So I think the first movers will get probably the packaged. The first movers might become the packaged data providers, and
Right.
then the ones who follow might become the consumers of this.
Mm.
So that's how I just thought of it on the fly, but I think
Oh,
that's
this is
probably
the beauty of talking to founders. I enjoy every single conversation with founders because founders by design think 360 degrees. By
thank you.
design, you guys think 360 degrees. By design, you see things 360 degrees. You look at cost, you look at technology, you look at your own domain, in this case, product discovery. So every time I have a conversation with a founder like yourself, I I love to ask these questions because what I always hear, I learn from. So
Yes.
I completely agree with you. But let's come back to the field that you know, product discovery, B2C, retail. I guess that's going to be probably more public. How should one think about the future of um, AI, Gen AI, APIs, etc.? Should they be? Is this something for the public cloud? Is this going to be lots of APIs that one should be calling? How do you see the future, which involves Unthink?
Yes, so I see the future as being the more you open it up, the more everybody benefits. So
Hmm.
in my view, like let's take one step further, right? So today we are a platform that sort of sits in between a generic OpenAI model and the enterprise use cases and their data and their customers, right? So we provide a layer which gets the two going in a sort of feedback loop, right? So
Positive. Yeah.
like I mentioned in the last episode, we have content generation tool which helps the enterprises create lots of data, and then we have a search assistant which helps serve the customers
Hmm.
based using that data. Right? So, and these two work in a loop. You serve the customer, you create content, and then the customer inputs again feed the content generation. So it's sort of a loop. So we sit in between this. We are sort of like and we keep trying out different models. Like today we do OpenAI. Tomorrow we might try the Google's models. So we
Right.
want to be on top of the top of what's best to serve the use case. So our focus is to be always on the top of what's happening and using the best of the breed to serve the enterprises. That's our goal. So I feel that since we do this day in and day out, we are really good at it.
Right.
The enterprises will get really good. Each of the enterprises will be really good at understanding exactly what their customers need and how to serve them and how to generate more and more data, how to use that as an input to even fine tune what products they should be serving. Maybe they think that they serve one type of customers, but they might find that they're getting a lot of requests from another type of customers or for different types of products. So there's a strategic planning that can be driven by AI and what they see. So I believe that each enterprise or entity should focus on what they do best and do it and leverage it to really enhance their revenue and their value to the system. Um, so this is, I know it's a small digression of what you asked, but I'm getting to is that it's the age of collaboration, right?
Yeah.
So there are users, there are influencers who are also users, there are platforms like ours, there are enterprises, and then if you look at the future of the web, right, like just a small digression, Web3, right? So Web3 is again about democratization, it's about
Yeah.
ownership, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, the entities that create the data should own the data, they should benefit from it. So I believe it's a give and take. It's not like one party like owns everything and then everybody else pays for it, right? Like we
Right.
want the we want everybody to be uh, a mini Google.
Right. Oh,
right?
Tina, it's exactly, and I want to tap into your experience for my last question. What's next for AI and customer experience? And I think you're going to tell me it's going to be the age of collaboration, but I don't want to steal your thunder.
Yes, I think AI is going to make it possible for anybody to do what they do best, right? Like, I mean, if you look at an artist spends a lot of time creating their art. What if they could leverage all the tools, right,
Hmm.
to generate their art in the best possible way? There is still a lot of human element, and while people think that AI is going to take away the thunder, I think those who adopt it faster will actually be able to benefit, because they are actually taking out all the sort of drudgery out of the work, right? I'm really passionate about, you have to be best at what you are, and focus there, right? So if you're taking out all the, what do you say, the drudgery work
Right.
out of your system, right, you're making it, you're creating beautiful things. So whether it's an artist, whether it's a content creator, whether it's a retailer, whether it's a platform, whether it's Google, they all have their own roles. And I don't think there is um, a shortage in the world, right? Like, if you look at from a very philosophical point of view,
Yeah.
right, like abundance mindset versus scarcity. Like, if
Mm,
you think there is finite amount of resources and finite amount of talent, then you're going to be very protective and nobody's going to benefit. But if you think there is, that the more you collaborate, the more you generate, the more you share, it's good for everybody. I think that's where AI can take us, if people, but again, end of the day, it's, we are all humans, right? So technology is only there as technology, but it depends on how humans actually adopt it, and like have that mindset of collaboration, working with partners, opening up things so that others also get value. Like, it's always got to be an exchange of value, which
yes.
is fair,
Yeah.
actually.
No, this is great, Tina. I usually end these episodes on what are my three key takeaways.
Yeah.
I was thinking I'm going to do my three key takeaways from customer experience and product discovery. I think I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something else. I'm
Okay.
going to take three things I learned from you, Tina. You taught me three things. First is, and I've never seen these said by anybody else, so that's my takeaway. You said, I asked you right in the beginning of our first episode, and what do you think of AI? And you said, AI simplifies life. You just told me also, we are entering an age of collaboration. So, my three takeaways are this: AI simplifies life. We are entering the age of collaboration, and we're going to create beautiful things together because we're going to do this with an abundance mindset. That's my summary. That's my summary from the two episodes with you, Tina. It's been a pleasure. We wish all the best to you and Unthink. We think you're going to rock the world on product discovery. You're going to show the rest of us how this happens and take the world beyond SEO. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having, thanks for joining us, Tina. I hope the pleasure's been on your side too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Prashant. I really appreciate such a big organization as ISG giving me a platform to speak, sharing inputs about the questions that you get from enterprises, because when we go talk to an enterprise, right, we get faced with lots of questions. So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for you to be so open about sharing the roadblocks that get in the way of implementation, adoption of AI, and things like that. So I'm honored to be here, and thank you so much.
Oh, it's the age of collaboration. I
Yes.
share and then go create beautiful things together, Tina. Thanks so much. And with this, we come up to the end of our episode with Anthink and with Tina. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.